Welcome to the Ask Lee segment of my channel, and if you have any questions regarding magic, spirituality, witchcraft, demonolatry, the occult, whatever it may be, then all you have to do is drop it into the comments of any of the Ask Lee videos and I will add it to the queue. And I do these every Wednesday, so just look out for your questions. Welcome to my channel. You are entering the world of magic and mysticism with your host, Lee W. Johnson. Keep the lights on and help improve the channel by becoming a supporter for just $2.99 per month. Hit the join button. Hello and welcome back to another Ask Lee. Okay, so straight into the questions. Max Blizzard, I'm not sure, you'll have to let me know. I'm struggling with the matron patron demon thing. According to my natal chart, Belial would be my patron, however I don't feel that he's the one. Does that make sense? I mean, how do you know? Kathy Pryor also commented on that, asking how do you even find your patron, demon, angel, god, etc. in your natal chart, or do we have more than one type? Okay, so if I recall correctly, I mean this mostly comes from Connolly's writings, whereby we find out from our natal chart which are the more prominent elements of air, fire, water and earth, and then we assign that to being the patron or matron, Daemon. Now, coming back to that, so you know, if the most prominent element in your natal chart is earth, therefore it would be Belial. That's only one possibility of finding your matron or patron, and just because it may be earth, it doesn't mean it's Belial, or because it's the most prominent element is fire, it would be Flerius. Those are simply the elemental kings which have been assigned within one system. So it could be that it's an earthy type of spirit, but not necessarily Belial. But at the same time, that's only one way of doing it, one way of finding this matron or patron. Personally, I think firstly you should not worry too much about it. When they deem it necessary to let you know, they'll let you know. If they never do, that's also fine. That doesn't mean they're not there. They always will be there. So it's very similar to the Holy Guardian Angel or the personal Daimon, etc., etc., which I'll get to just now because that was actually Kathy Pryor's next question. You know, first of all, just don't worry too much about it. It's not an absolute necessity to have in your practice. You don't need to have your matron or patron. This kind of reminds me of back in the 90s. You know, we had to have a magical name, a witch name. It was just part of the thing about being a witch back then. It's not as important as it is now. But things have changed. It also relied on social media. Well, not really social media. Back then it was Yahoo groups and email. We didn't have Facebook and all those types of social media, but still it was social, it was online, etc. But anyway, it kind of reminded me of that. You have to have a witch name. You have to take on a witch name. So, you know, it was one of those really important things you had to do, but it actually isn't that necessary. Obviously, if you need to hide your identity online, you need to have an alias or, you know, a handle or something like that. And I think this is sort of what it's become with this whole idea of you have to have a matron or patron. You have to find out who your matron or patron is. It's not necessary. You know, as I said, your matron or patron is going to be a deity who is kind of like the guiding aspect in your life. And they're always going to be there. They're always going to be there in the background. Um, whether one person gets to know who that is intimately and another person doesn't really change that fact, doesn't really change that operation, that working, that way of going through life. So, it's not one of those things we have to do, in order to take the next step. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's really as simple as that. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. But if you don't feel that Belial is your patron, that's fine. Just let it come naturally. Let the spirit themselves actually reach out to you and say, I am your matron or patron. You can sit down and you can call out to the spirits. I wouldn't do this too generally because you might start attracting spirits that you don't want around you. But you can call out to them and say, who is my matron or patron? You may feel drawn to a particular spirit, in which case go and ask them if they are your matron or patron. It could be that they are simply there for a short period of time to get you through something, to teach you a lesson, and then they'll move on and another one will come along. In which case that's not your matron or patron. But if you feel particularly drawn to one, it could be. And therefore just ask. You'll probably find that when it comes to your matron or patron, they'll kind of pop up, they'll keep popping up over years and years and years, and they don't go away. That's the ones that stick around, and that's usually what that is. But as I said, don't worry too much about it. It's not an absolute necessity. You don't have to do it before you can take the next step in anything. It's just a nice to know, a nice to have type of thing. Alright, so the next question was from Kathy Pryor. Is your guardian angel and your higher self the same, or are they different entities? Is personal Daimon or Daemon the same as our main spirit guide? These are all really the same thing. We just read, different traditions, different cultures. They all refer to it by a different name. So your guardian angel, your holy guardian angel, your higher self, your personal daimon, your fetch, all of these things are that aspect which is your higher self, your holy guardian angel. I like to use the term personal daimon. It does come from the Greek, but the word daimon itself has quite a history, and it did develop over the centuries. But it refers to a spirit which is your guiding spirit. And when we think of the holy guardian angel, which Crowley spoke a lot about in reference to things like the sacred magic of Abramelin, that's the spirit which is guiding your own true will. So it's that guiding force in our lives. And there's lots of different viewpoints on what the holy guardian angel, the personal daimon, actually is. If we look at it in reference to being the fetch, and we look at that as being in reference to the fetch beast and the fetch mate, then it's both the fetch beast and the fetch mate. They're not actually separate, they are the same thing, they are the fetch, but it's different aspects of that one being. But I've forgotten where I was going with that now. But if some people will think of the holy guardian angel as being separate from ourselves, and others will consider it to be a part of ourselves, our higher self or our higher soul. So I think it's somewhere in between. It is independent of us, but it is part of us, and it's kind of the intermediary between ourselves and divinity. Yeah, big topic, but yeah, all of those terms guardian angel, higher self, personal daimon, main spirit guide even. They are all the same thing. You know, spirit guides, you can have many spirit guides, and this comes back to the previous question now. You know, we're talking about matron and patron, so you may have this particular spirit, this deity, which is a guiding principle in your life, and then they're there throughout your life. Whereas we have different spirits that come in for shorter periods of time to get us over something, to teach us something, to help us with something, and then they leave and another one comes in. Very similar. So if we use the term main spirit guide, that would be the one which is there forever, you know, throughout our lives. Whereas we may have other spirit guides which pop in and out just to teach us lessons or whatever it may be. So yeah, all the same thing really. All right. So the next question, if it will go back, there we go. Okay, this is a long one from, oops, right, I've lost it. Boxer Training, whose name has changed to Black Rose, if I remember correctly. I know you changed your alias on there. Okay, let me just try and zoom in a bit so I can read it better. Okay, I only have a few questions. This is in reference to the asking I did on disposal of offerings. Okay, so just to give a relation to what these questions are about. What if an offering of water or alcohol or other liquids, for example, may I offer wine to a spirit and leave it for like a day or more, then take it out to the balcony and leave it to evaporate? Would that be appropriate? As in leaving it to the sun, air to carry away. Yeah, that's absolutely, that's very appropriate. You'll find, you know, different people will do different things. If I am giving liquid, water, alcohol, coffee, tea, etc. Maybe not so much coffee or tea, and I'll explain why now. If I'm using alcohol, water is, you know, one thing. Water's water. It doesn't go moldy or anything like that. If, however, I'm using alcohol, you may find that some will get a bit of mold on them, or a fly will fly in or something like that. You'll probably find that means that the offering has not been accepted. And the strangest thing, you know, I remember offering. It was sherry. I offered some sherry, and that got some mold on the top after a day or two. And then I changed that to red wine, which you would think would get mold quicker, but it didn't. After a week, no mold at all. So it's sometimes a good indication that the offering itself has not been accepted. The spirit just didn't like that particular thing, so change it to something else. But when I do this, I usually leave the offerings on for a week, maybe. It depends on the agreement. I usually agree to, if it's a liquid offering, I usually agree with the spirit to replace it every week, if it's an alcohol. Water I'll usually replace daily, especially with my main offering, my main altar that I do my daily workings at. I do that every day, and that's a daily change. But if it's an alcohol offering, I will do it probably weekly. Some people will change it every day, and you know, and taking it out and pouring it on the ground, for instance, is one way of disposing of it. You can let it evaporate into the air, and you know, as an offering to the air spirits themselves, as an offering to sun, as you mentioned. So yeah, great way of disposing of them. All right, I'm rambling now. Let's see. Next was also, I tend to use tea lights. Chime candles are not available where I live, and I normally throw away the metal part in the trash while saying thank you once the candle has burned all the way down. I saw in another video of yours that it's not a good idea to throw the offerings in the trash, but I have no garden and I don't live near any body of water. I live in an urban area. And I heard other people say that it's fine to throw the remains in the trash respectfully by saying thank you, so I'm confused. There are a couple of parks in my neighborhood, but I don't feel comfortable going around and digging holes. It may attract the wrong kind of attention. What should I do in this case? Okay, specifically in terms of candles, you don't want to bury candles. They're not good for the earth. They, usually have paraffin byproducts in them. So this is a bit of a problem. And yes, you can dispose of them in the trash if it's the only option you've got. Try and go through the different motions. Can you bury it in the ground? If you can't bury it in the ground, can you burn it? If you can make a little, well, we call them braais here, but a barbecue or some kind of fire, then make the fire, put the candle into the fire and let that melt. That's one way of disposing of it, because then everything turns to ashes. That's one way of disposing of candles. Candles, as I said, you can't really bury in the ground because they're not really good for the ground. So if you can't burn them, it's one way of doing it, a votive offering. No matter what it is, whether it's food, candles, paper, whatever, do a votive offering where you actually burn it. But if there's absolutely no way of getting rid of it, and again, candles, putting them in the stream, not a good idea. Very bad for the environment. But if you have no other options, then throw them in the trash. Respectfully say thank you. It is considered to be disrespectful to throw things in the trash. But I think as more and more people are moving into urban areas and finding it difficult to dispose of offerings in the proper fashions, the way people used to do it, I think these changes are becoming a bit more necessary. Not everybody agrees with it. Throwing stuff in the trash, they will not do it at all. But I think it's becoming a necessity, so it's fine. And then continuing, and finally, in the example of Lucifer, for example, I saw a lot of posts from people saying he likes chocolate. I would love to offer him chocolate, but I have no idea how to dispose of it. Like, even if I could leave it in nature, it could be harmful to stray dogs and cats as it's toxic to them. I also read that he likes cigarettes and cigars. In this case, should I light the cigar and let it burn as an offering, or should I just place it? I am sorry, I have so many questions and can't find any answers anyway. No, perfectly fine. Okay, so things like chocolate can be melted. So again, if you can make a fire, make a fire. If you can't, trash again. Gonna have to put it in the trash. Cigarettes and cigars, I would actually avoid cigarettes. Cigars, pipe tobacco, rolling tobacco is it called rolling tobacco? Tobacco that you roll your own cigarettes with. Those are okay. Those are not as bad. Cigarettes themselves contain so many chemicals and things like cyanide and arsenic and things like that. So I actually wouldn't. I know a lot of people do offer cigarettes, but it's actually supposed to be an offering of tobacco. Tobacco is a very sacred plant. So rather do cigars or pipe tobacco, or any kind of tobacco that is not treated with all the chemicals that cigarettes are. With those, you can simply leave them on the altar. If you don't smoke, you're not going to want to do particular things. There's smoke cleansings you can do with cigars, for instance. But yes, cigars and tobacco you can actually leave on the altar. That is something you can actually leave for a long time. It's kind of like if you were offering jewelry or coins or toys or something like that. You can. There's no reason why you can't leave these things permanently. They become part of the actual altar itself. And cigars and tobacco. Tobacco, you can, if you can build a fire and you want to dispose of it, you can just burn it. So I think this is going to come a lot down to, can you build a fire? If you can't build a fire, the only option you've got left for you is the trash. But if you can build a fire, like if you've got a balcony like I do, and you've got a little place that you can actually build an actual fire, then you can go and you can take all of these offerings and you can burn them. So, as I said, if that's not an option for you, the only option left is the bin, the trash. However, if you can get to a park and it's something you can leave in nature, so not chocolate, not a cigar. Well, a cigar's okay. Well, actually, it's biodegradable, so it should be fine. You don't really want an animal coming along and eating it. But something you can leave, like bread, eggs, all of the food type of items that you can leave out in nature. Then if you can leave it in a park, you don't need to dig a hole. Kind of carry it in a little bag or something, and then when nobody's watching, just put it next to a tree and just leave it there, or put it in the tree. So there are different ways you can actually work this. You can do this. So you have to get imaginative, I think. All right, last bit. Sorry for the long comment. I have so many ideas for offerings, but the issue is not knowing how to dispose of them in a respectful manner and without offending the spirits. I have been trying to contact Lucifer, and I think it is him I am feeling, but I am not able to get clear answers yet, so I am trying to go with the most reasonable ways to dispose of my future offerings to him. So far, I have only been offering candles and incense, and I made him a painting one time. Thanks for reading and answering my questions. Paintings are a great offering. And when it comes to Lucifer, Lucifer's the light bringer, bringer of gnosis and knowledge and things like that. So studying is also a good offering. But yeah, disposal of offerings can get a bit tricky, and I think more people are talking about it now and trying to give other people ideas. But at one stage, it was like nobody even mentioned it. It was kind of like assumed, or you would talk within a group or something like that. So yeah, if you can't bury it or leave it in the stream, can you burn it? If you can't burn it, throw it in the trash. And say thank you before you do so. Thank you to the spirits. Thank you for accepting the offering, etc., etc., etc. But essentially, the viewpoint is, on one side, you should not throw it in the trash. It's disrespectful. On the other side, it's fine because it was an offering. All of the energy is drained out of it. Now it's just waste products. Therefore, it's okay to throw it in the trash. So, how do you feel? Let's put it that way. Okay. So that's it for Ask Lee this week, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one. Cheers for now. Bye bye.